Hello, this is Janet Fitch, and if it is noon on Wednesday, it is Writing Wednesday, where I answer your writing questions, craft questions, genre questions, business questions, psychological questions, existential questions. All things writing comes to you here. If you have questions for me today, put them in the chat and I'll be happy to answer them. And if you have questions for me during the week, you can write to me at my website, janetfitchwrites.com, and there's a contact section, and you can email me your question, and I can uh, uh, devise a Writing Wednesday for to answer your question. And if you like what I'm doing, please subscribe. It it makes me feel like this is worth doing. That there are people on the other end of the line. So yeah, please subscribe. And let's start with today's question. Hi, Hope. Good to see you. Um, Hi, Brenda. Yeah, this is your question. Um, All right, so Brenda asks, I just interviewed a fiction writer who's now writing screenplays. He made it sound like screenplays are so easy and fun. I'm tempted to take a novel I can't seem to finish and try doing it as a screenplay instead. Can you talk about screenplay writing and your experiences with it, or working with someone adapting one of your novels or stories for film? And if you have any advice for someone who wants to try screenplay writing, I'm all ears. Do I need to learn the screenplay apt final draft? Okay, let's talk about the issue before we talk about the apps. Um, Hi, Sarah. Hi, Bazena. Hi, Jennifer. Very good. Well, my I don't know if some of you know this, but I went to film school briefly in the directing program at USC, and learned very quickly that I am no screenwriter. Um, it was definitely a wake up call for me, which does not mean that that's going to be the case with you. Uh, but my familiarity, and I've given a lot of thought to this question. Um, I came into the directing program to the for graduate school as a short story writer. Somebody in the film business read my short stories and said, you should go to film school. Um, and so I gave it a try, found that I didn't like it. It's very collaborative. Filmmaking is a collaborative thing. So I dropped out. I lost every penny I had by dropping out because I'd forked over everything. Um, and my screenplays were basically, I'm a novelist. My screenplays were too long, and uh, they weren't, they didn't conform to the needs of film, that I wanted to spread out more. And my screenplays didn't sell once I left. My screenplays didn't sell, and I figured if I wasn't going to sell anything, I might as well write what I want to write, which is fiction. And so I went back to fiction writing, short stories, and then the novels. And that's turned out to be a good thing for me. But I understand the temptation. Hi, Sarah. Hi, Laura. Hi, Wendy. Hi, Blair. It's, you know, the first thing to remember if you want to write screenplay, if you're a fiction writer, is that it is a visual medium. And the screenplay is a blueprint that somebody else is going to use to create a film from. So it's only a blueprint. You know, you don't say so and so was feeling so happy today. It's a visual medium, visual. So our multi-sense, and in fiction, you can get the person's interior. It's a visual medium, so it's what you can see. So if the character is having a good day, we don't care what's going on in his brain. We have to see him objectify in the physical reality what is going on with him. So you have to find gestures, you have to find things that make the reader understand what's going on with the character. Um, it is a blueprint. So structure is what a screenplay is all about. If you find that your writing tends not to be strong on structure, you would not be a good candidate for the screenplay. If you're good on structure, how a story is, the way you unfold a story is very, it's strong and it's clear. If that's the kind of fiction you write, you might be a good candidate for the screenplay. Generally, it's more like a short story than a novel. A novel is rambly and you can go wherever you want. You can open all the drawers, you can take all the side alleys. A screenplay, like a short story, is about one thing and you follow it through. I think that the constant forward motion of a screenplay is one of its hallmarks, just like a short story. Even more than a short story, is a little machine and constant forward motion. So if you tend to a lyrical style, if you tend to like language, description, you're not, that's going to be a challenge for you. A screenplay cuts to the chase. I mean, literally, it cuts to the chase. I talked to my husband, who is a TV writer, screenwriter, in comedy. But, well, he's done more of that, and he's been a showrunner, so he's dealt with other people's scripts. And he was saying the most important thing is constant forward motion. People will have to be reminded of why they're watching every page. They'll have to be reminded of why they're watching this. Ah, yeah, that's why. If they start wondering, he says, you get the first 8 minutes of a film. People will cut you some slack, but after that, they have to be reminded over and over why they're watching. The urgency has to be there. Forward motion has to be there. You get little rewards along the way that keep the reader engaged, the viewer engaged. It is a lot of the things I describe about dialogue are going to apply. The dialogue is just for conflict. The conflict has to be there. You want to compress the dialogue, not a lot of meet and greet and all that slack stuff. People think just because it's a verbal, an oral form when people are speaking, that you can have them say anything, and that is not true. It's what they say is even more important because it's all you've got. So not a lot of meet and greet. You keep it lean. You're going to use gesture, silences, things like that, just as important or more so than in fiction. Then you need to, if you're thinking of writing screenplay, read some screenplays. Most people don't. Most people watch movies and they think that somehow they think they've read the script, but there's a huge difference between what's on the screen and the script. So I urge you to find screenplays and read them, to get a sense of what's in them and what's not in them. Don't try to do the director's job. The director is the one who takes the blueprint and fleshes it out, decides what people look like, decides where, what they're going to shoot. It's up to the screenwriter to give them something to shoot. What is the basic conflict? What is who are the characters? What is the scene? What are these memorable moments that people are going to leave the theater? They're going to remember 3 things about the movie. And, Andrew calls it line, moment, and scene. So a good line is what is remembered. So this is where you really push yourself to come up with original dialogue and memorable lines, and not one person getting all the good lines. Imagine the actors that you're trying to attract and give them something to say. The best screenwriting book I taught at USC with, actually before that, I was at something called the Sherwood Oaks Experimental College on Sunset, I think it was, or Hollywood Boulevard, in a motel. It was a DIY. But there was a guy named Sid Field who taught there, and later I taught with him at USC, and he is the guy. Don't spend any time looking at all this, feed the cat or whatever, pet the cat, whatever that guy was, or, I took class with Bob McKee, so his story. The best one is oh God, how have I just blanked it? I tried to find it. I just said it. But McKee now is in my way. Sid Field. So Sid Field. This is an extremely simple, straightforward, and very useful book, and it's just called Screenwriting. Yeah, Sid Field is the one. It's a very simple three-act structure. And take a look at my scene and story videos, because screenwriting is all about scene and story. Something happens where the character cannot go back to the way it was before. Scene. And do you have a scene? Is there change? Character has a change. Line, a great line that an actor will say, and moments that are just unusual and memorable. Dialogue for conflict. People who start writing screenplay and have never read a screenplay, that's a problem. You want to find the best screenplays, read them, and then read them the way a writer reads. Like, figure out what's going on, write in the margins. Get a printed out physical copy, write in the margins the movement of the emotions, change from this to this, change from this to this. He's getting angry, change from this to this. He's, lying. Notice what actors would call the beats. And then, notice the change of direction, notice the changes of location, of time of day, how they're varied. They're not always in the same place. Really, hi Marie, good to see you. So we got, between Andrew and I, we got a list for you of some of the best screenplays for you to read. Um, so he writes comedy, so I don't know if you're writing comedy or not, but the best comedies, he would say, scripts, would be Groundhog Day, um, The Turner Show, The Truman Show, um, Arthur, wonderfully written movies. So find those screenplays. He says they're all on, a lot of them are online. You can just download them and print them on paper so that you can pull them apart and see what's going on. Um, Other great screenplays, highly recommended: Chinatown, a near perfect screenplay. Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. Um, The Usual Suspects. The Sixth Sense. All the President's Men. Um, All About Eve, classic. Sunset Boulevard, Billy Wilder, classic. Um, and then as far as books, aside from the Sid Field book, he recommended a book called Adventures in the Screen Trade by William Goldman, who wrote The Princess Bride, also a fabulous screenplay. But he talks about the writing of scripts and then what was asked, of him. He's learning as he's going along. He was lucky to start with a gig, but then he had to learn to do it, which I don't know about you, but I've certainly gotten gigs where I didn't know how to do the job. I just needed it. Just needed the money, and then had to quickly learn how to do it. So people, you need to um, look at the variety of ways that the writers maintain your attention is what you're looking for. How do they keep you interested? What happens that piques your interest? It keeps you reading. Keep looking for those moments that keep you reading, besides blowing something up, actually in the drama. Um, let's see. Um, so read as if you're watching a film and are slightly impatient. Like get on, like you're the audience going, get on with it, get on with it. In fiction, you get a little, in a novel, you get a little more time to describe, and you get the character's interior and these subtle, and the movie watcher wants to get on with it. So think of yourself as somewhat impatient. It's not a bad thing to do with fiction, reading your own fiction either, is imagine a slightly impatient reader. And then how do you engage? But it's look at the structure, look at how it's put together, the intense scenes versus the, where do they let up the gas, where do they change to another part of the story, another part of the forest, I mean, really make a spreadsheet. I don't like spreadsheets, I like to do things on paper, but make a little spreadsheet and notice how the scenes move and how they change, and location and time of day and character. They're not going to be in scene with that same other second character all the time. You got to have some motion, some different things going on, and always follow the shape. It's like you can get rid of character, you can get rid of jokes, you can get rid of lines, all that. Take a look at what would be left, how the movement, emotional movement, goes on. That's what they're paying for, is that structure, and then the lines. Um, so ask yourself, how invested are you in every moment? And then you have the quirky movies. They too have structure. They're just They don't do what you expect. Um, so movies like Being John Malkovich, he thought that was a terrific screenplay. Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, that's Charlie Kaufman. Um, and always remember, it's what you can see. It's a visual medium. So it doesn't hurt to try to make a little movie with your cell phone camera so you can get more into the head of having to shoot something. Um, the Hope says, I liked the structure of Slumdog Millionaire. Yeah, take a look at that. I have thoughts about Slumdog Millionaire. I think that it had the wrong, that the protagonist isn't the protagonist. There's another protagonist, a hidden protagonist, just like Mary Poppins. Um, I think that, that there's, but it is not easy. It is like short story. It is a very elegant form. You cannot throw everything in. You have to take everything out. It's a minimalist. It's a good form for a minimalist. You know, where the structure is the beauty of it. I had a friend who is an artist and was teaching architecture at Princeton, and she just hated the Geary building downtown, the Disney Hall. She thought it was really fake because the curves and stuff are pasted onto a structure. They're pasted over a structure that didn't reflect the curves at all. There was a structure and then a support for the curves, but it wasn't inherent in the building. And she didn't like that. And screenplay is more like her frame of mind of, the beauty is inherent in the structure, not pasted on. Um, I don't know if that's going to make any sense to anybody but me, but it makes sense to me. Um, so ask yourself how emotionally, when you're reading these screenplays, ask yourself, how emotionally invested am I in this thing from moment to moment? Because that's the kind of art form it is. Um, Anybody ever read screenplays? You know, there's not a huge amount of description. It's very light because if you say, she's a tall blonde, blah, 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 and the director wants to hire a 5'2" brunette, they're going to do it. So there's no point in having that in your screenplay. So take a look at good screenplays and how people are described. What else can I tell you about this? I did not stay with screenplays. I'm not a screenwriter. I don't have that structural certainty. I more like opening the drawers and seeing what's in there and going down taking the long way home. And so my stuff always has always been adapted by somebody else. I don't do it at all. Also, if I've written the book, to spend another year writing a screenplay from that same material, to me, is a waste of my time. I mean, yeah, it's a paycheck, but I'd rather somebody else get the paycheck, and then I'll sell more books if there's a movie. But I don't find it rewarding for myself. I find it's kind of a nightmare. People do. John le Carré adapted his stuff for the screen, and did not find it a pleasant experience. Said it was like turning a cow into a bouillon cube, which is a nicer way than some people have expressed it. It's I can't say that on I don't want to say it on a call like this, what people think of it really. Adapting your own work is very difficult. I know people who are very good at adapting a book or a screenplay, but it's all about what you cut out. That's what Brenda was saying. Um, Maybe this is why the book is always better than the movie. The movie strips out so much. That's why some, really wonderful films are adapted from short stories because it gives you the spine. The story gives you the spine, and then you can elaborate. Whereas adapting a novel into screenplay is cutting. It's cutting away to the skeleton. And if the skeleton's not interesting or solid or compelling, it's not going to be a good movie. And then each genre has its own um, allowances. If it's a thriller and some kid is playing tennis against a wall, you can have a scene like that because we know that the kid's mother is being murdered as he's doing this. Whereas if it's a drama, there's no point in showing that kid banging the ball. There's no tension. There's not that drive forward that you want in a screenplay. So I would not. I don't do my own screenplays. I remember in film school writing a screen. You had first term. You wrote a screenplay, and my screenplay was like 185 pages long. Just like no, I don't have the gift of writing that elegant, brief brushstrokes that a screenplay gives you. Like Memento, Blair says. Yeah, Memento is interesting. Hope loves Coen Brothers screenplays. Interesting. Yeah. Yeah, and then dialogue has to stay on point and nobody says anything that anybody could say. I just watched Winter's Bone. I bet that's a really good screenplay. Haven't read it yet. I don't read the screenplays unless I'm judging an award or something. So this, saying that it's fun and easy is whatever this guy, told you. I interviewed a fiction writer who's now writing screenplays. He made it sound like screenplays are so easy and fun. Well, good luck to him. God bless him if he finds it easy and fun. Most screenwriters do not find it fun. They find it very difficult, and that once it's bought, then it gets changed. So you're never the author of a screenplay. Very few people, unless you're directing your own screenplay, it's just a blueprint and they will change it. And if you're attached to your vision, you're going to really cry your eyes out. I just, when I sell the option or sell the rights to something that I've written, I just have to step back because they will change it and it will, as long as I didn't spend another year doing that, I'm okay with it. But if I had spent a year and they, why don't we make a her or a him or something, it would just make me insane. I'm too proprietary with my work. It's not it's not fun or easy, but that's me. It's not necessarily you. Brenda says he's no good at novel writing. He writes short stories. So what you're saying makes sense. Yeah. Yeah, it's a great, great mode for somebody who is good at short stories. And I know lots of people who do the adaptation in their own work. I know that Attica Locke has, I believe, has done her adaptations for her books. John le Carre certainly did, but he sure didn't like it. Who else writes the screenplay to their own work? Anybody familiar with that? So Blair liked the writing and Portrait of a Lady on Fire. There's one to look up. So anyway, it's a good thing to look these up. Remember Sid Field's screenwriting just for like a really great structure, simple structural analysis, and steer clear of this other stuff. Oh, God. And then as a fiction writer, don't try to write a screenplay in your novel because you have so many more colors on your palette to use. But it is tempting. I know a poet who was, very up for writing a screenplay or teleplay, talked to me about it, and I was saying basically what I'm saying her, and she didn't speak to me. Maybe a little bit now, but she was so hepped up on the idea that she could make some money. I don't know. Poets, I mean, there's a structured form, stripped down. Maybe she could do it. I never say never, but definitely try to think about how you write and what interests you in writing, because you don't want to have a 3-year screenplay. You could have a novel by then. Okay, well, if there's anything else, favorite writing, I go for the classics, I mean, take them apart. Don't just read them, picture them, notice where the movement is. You like delineate the scene and then watch the movement inside the scene. Where does it start? Where does it start on the emotional level? Not just location, but where it starts. Elsa, or what did I just see? Notorious. What's that woman's name? I forget, the Ingrid Bergman character. She might start the scene rapturously in love with Cary Grant, waiting for him to show up, and then he doesn't show up, or he shows up late and dumps her. So there's movement there. She starts off happy and she ends up absolutely ditched, floored. Notice how the scenes move and how the movement within the scene, because you're looking at structure. It's got to hold up. And then, they're going to change it. I mean, I would think it was a heartbreaker, but that's just me. I'm pretty egotistical, and I get very wedded to my creative output. But people who are screenwriters, it's an art form, and if you want to do it, then make a commitment to do it. Not only read about screenplay, but read about, filmmaking and what a director thinks, about a screenplay, and how a cameraman, cinematographer. There's a wonderful book by Walter Murch, who is a well-renowned cinematographer, in conversation with Michael Ondaatje, because he shot The English Patient. And so Ondaatje, I don't think, wrote the screenplay for The English Patient. Let's take a look. The English Patient movie. Okay, there it is. And it is yep, directed by so-and-so from his own script. Oh, the director wrote it. Okay, so Andaje did not write the script. So it'd be interesting to see the, writers who did, but definitely approach it as it is an art form. It is an amazingly moving art form. And it has traditions, and it has, uh, the last question here that Brenda had was, do I need to learn the screenplay app final draft? Yeah, I assume so. It's very, very easy to use, and all it does is it formats things correctly. It's not a big deal. Yeah, actually, it makes it easier. But read screenplays of that were written by people who really know what they're doing and tear them apart, figure it out. All right. Well, I wish you, oh, my chat has been, there we go. Well, I wish you good writing. And if you choose to try a screenplay, no more than 2 hours, no more than 120 pages. Most of them are less than 120 pages. Try for the compression in time span. Start as close to the end as you can. But read some quirky ones too, you know, uh, and see what the difference is. But block them out, tear them up. Don't just read them like you're eating popcorn. There's structure. So look at those blueprints and imagine how you put a building together. All right. Well, good luck and happy writing, and we'll see you next week for Writing Wednesday. And please, if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. Hi, Jennifer. Yes, please subscribe. It makes me feel like I want to keep doing this. So thank you, and we'll see you next week.